So earlier this week, Donald Trump announced that he was going to put on 25% tariff, Ontario announced they were going to do a 25% tariff on electricity for the U.S. And Donald Trump was up in arms and screaming. And you can see his response here. Based on Ontario, Canada placing a 25% tariff on electricity coming into the United States, I've instructed my Secretary of Commerce to add an additional 25% tariff to 50% on all steel and aluminum coming into the United States from Canada, one of the highest tariffing nations anywhere in the world. This will go into effect tomorrow morning, March 12th. Also, Canada must immediately drop their anti-American farmer tariff of 250% to 390% on various U.S. dairy products, which has long been considered outrageous. Let's keep in mind, by the way, these dairy tariffs have to meet a certain quota before they actually kick into effect. But Donald Trump doesn't really like to, mention that. This will allow you to quickly do what has been done to alleviate this abusive threat from Canada. If other egregious long-time tariffs are not likewise dropped by Canada, I'll substantially increase on April 2nd the tariffs on cars coming into the U.S., which will essentially permanently shut down the automobile manufacturing business in Canada. And he goes on to say those cars, blah, blah, blah. Keep in mind, by the way, that the way that car manufacturers work between the relationship between Canada and Mexico that people don't quite understand is that Canada's done playing around. Canada will impose a tariff right back onto the United States, and they're not afraid to do so. What happens is that you have a car that's manufactured here in the United States. It goes up to Canada, gets another part or two or whatever added onto it, and it comes back into the United States. What we saw when Canada initially did this, when we first had our spat back and forth, we saw car manufacturers halt operations. Why? Because they can't really finish their manufacturing in Canada because tariffs are extremely high, and they can't really bring it down to the United States because it's extremely high. So there's like, hey, we're going to be a stalemate. What does that do? It costs jobs. Okay. It costs more money to buy vehicles. And specifically steel and aluminum tariffs are going to cost more, especially if the steel is what's being used to make these cars. And we're seeing now after Donald Trump said, hey, look, we're going to throw a retaliatory tariff on you. You can see here where Canada was to impose a 25% retaliatory tariff on $21 billion worth of U.S. goods. So what we saw was an unnecessary trade war. Donald Trump is kind of, in essence, ticked off Canada. Canada's like, we're done playing with you. We're going to go on the offense. And so Canada said, look, we're going to impose a tariff on you unprompted. And Donald Trump said, well, we're going to throw a tariff back on you. And Canada's like, we're going to throw it back on you. And now we get the craziest thing of all. Like, this is just insane to me. Insane to me. Caroline Leavitt said tariffs are a tax hike on foreign countries and a tax cut for the American people. I would love you MAGA in chat and MAGA viewers who are watching this. Please enlighten me how tariffs are a tax cut. A tax cut. You are going to eat that cost. You, the consumer, the end user, are going to consume that cost. And the reporter snapped back and said, have you ever paid a tariff? I have. They don't get charged on foreign countries. And Levitt said, I think it's insulting that you're trying to test my knowledge on economics. When you say something as absurd as tariffs are a tax cut, I would say you probably don't have a good understanding of economics. And Donald Trump is confronted by CEOs at a business forum, and they kicked the reporters out of that. I wonder why. Could it be because CEOs are saying, yo, we need some confidence. Either you take these tariffs into place or you don't. We need some confidence in the market. And we can see here, CNBC's Steve Leisman goes off on Trump's reckless trade wars, saying, I'm going to say this at the risk of my job. What President Trump is doing is insane, is absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. Popcorn said tariffs themselves are literally a tax to 110% Popcorn. And let's be very clear, I'm not opposed to tariffs. What I am opposed to is reckless tariffs and not having a consistent one. It's a weekend thing. I guarantee you, I almost guarantee you at this point, while Donald Trump is golfing this weekend, because we all know Donald Trump is now going to be the vacationer in chief. He's going to be vacationing more than he's actually working, even though, MAGA complained about Joe Biden doing that, and now all of a sudden they are. I guarantee you we're going to see some kind of a spat over the weekend. This is what ends up happening. Donald Trump imposes a tariff. 2 days later, he drops it when Canada... What kind of happens is this. Donald Trump throws a tariff out there. He says, I'm going to throw 25% at you. Canada goes, well, we're going to throw 50% at you. And Donald Trump goes, okay, I'm sorry. We've come to an agreement. We are no longer doing these tariffs. Next weekend, I'm going to throw a tariff at you. Rinse and repeat. And we're going to be doing this for the next 12 months. It's insane. And what we see is Levitt saying, Canada Saul, if you want to step up into the big leagues, you better be prepared to play. When Donald Trump backed down from these tariffs. Donald Trump backed down from them. So yeah, it's just insane to me. And here you can see Donald Trump's handling the economy has absolutely tanked. For the first time ever in CNN's polling, a majority disapproves of Trump on the economy, and it's a clear majority, 56%. What I want you guys to understand is this. Donald Trump won because of the economy, not because he was supposed to be, and I've heard this saying, and don't let anybody ever say this, that Donald Trump was elected to be a bull in a china shop. That was not what he was elected. I've heard this numerous times. No polling suggests that he was elected to be a bull in a china shop. What Donald Trump was elected to be was to change the economy and turn the economy around. Because again, Donald Trump ran on the propaganda that the economy was doing terrible when it was actually recovered and it was in a soft landing. So Donald Trump was not given that mandate to be a bull in a china shop. That's not what he was given. He was given a vote to turn the economy around, this perceived bad economy. And all he has done is tank the economy due to this uncertainty, due to these tariffs. And you can see Lutnick trying to play these off a little bit. You don't get inflation from having a tariff. You don't get an inflation from having a tariff. Yes, you kind of do. When you have done a blanket tariff on EU, well, let's just think about the basic of this, right? This soda can, okay, this nice little soda can was yesterday, it was 50 cents, but now we've got a 100% tariff on this. Now it is $1. What is that called? That's called inflation. That's what that's called. You can see here, this is on the same day. This is the Canadian finance minister announcing these tariffs on the $29 billion in goods, and Trump imposing a 25% tariff. This is the crazy thing. Donald Trump has not just picked a trade war with Canada, he's also picked it with the EU. Trump imposed a 25% tariff on imported steel and aluminum, sparking EU retaliation and raising concerns over rising consumer prices. And you can see now that the golden age is upon us and that U.S. recession risk is at 40%, JP Morgan's chief economist says. We are heading towards a recession. That is undeniable. And you have people, Republicans specifically, like Tommy Tuberville, going around saying, no pain, no gain. That's what we used to tell our football players. There's going to be some pain with tariffs. Democrats, get out of the way and shut up. They are living in a clown world. And you can see here that consumer sentiment slid another 11% this month, with declines seen consistently across all groups by age. This is from the University of Michigan. You can see unemployment inflation expectations worsen. You can see it was down here about 30%, and now it's upwards of 70%. 70% of consumers believe unemployment is going to, expecting more unemployment over the next year. Inflation over the next year. Inflation in the long run is going up as well. So as we sit here and we think about what's going on with our economy, what we have to realize is that Donald Trump's tariff policy is absolutely wrecking our economy. What we have to understand is that this is going to end up leading to a recession and potentially even a depression.